everyone, it's Vanessa V. Welcome to my channel where we discuss reigning over your life, conquering what's holding you back, and living life in victory each day using simplified strategies that work for you. Today we're going to be touching on the difference between stress hacks and coping skills and why that's important. I'm sure we're all feeling some sort of extreme amount of stress right now in one way or another. And so by increasing our self-care, by using these strategies can actually really help us in combating that. And so I'm hoping that today's segment will help us all, in fact, do that. Really quick before we get started, if you're not familiar with me, I am an actress and speaker. I'm also living with post-traumatic stress disorder. Some things that I'm not are a mental health care professional and a healthcare professional. What I am is an expert in my own situation and what works for me. And my hope is by sharing these strategies that I've mastered over these years to handle life and stress and anxiety, that they can help you just like they have helped me and so many others. And before we forget, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, feel free to do that right now. The button's below. So it may seem obvious to you, especially if you've been tuning into these videos along the way with me, as to what the difference between coping skills and stress hacks are, and what they are. Even if we haven't gone over it, it might seem a little obvious. But I have been wanting to go over them since the beginning, because I do feel that there is an important distinction, and it's important to know what that is. That way we can make them work better for us and use them more efficiently. And doing this can help you reign over your life even more. So, no matter who you are, let's put on those crowns and get to it. Coping skills. What are they? When we use healthy coping skills in a way that works for us and when they work for us, they can actually be really important and helpful in decreasing our stress and anxiety and allowing our brain to relax better. They tend to be activities and take some sort of amount of time, and sometimes that can be hard to find. Or coping skills can be seen as more luxury choices in life. And even though you can obviously do coping skills in public, some of them aren't necessarily public friendly. And so we tend to do them more in private. Some examples of healthy, positive coping skills can be walking, reading, painting, exercise, being social, and etc. Some examples of negative coping skills can be drug and alcohol abuse, chronic avoidance of the present by being on your phone a lot or watching TV a lot, overeating, hoarding, and more. Now, to be clear, I'm not in any way knocking coping skills. Unfortunately, your typical run-of-the-mill suggested coping skills just were not working for me. They weren't cutting it for a lot of my life. And it wasn't really until I discovered the fact that you could actually control stress and anxiety in a snap. Life was extremely difficult for me. Like, it was a struggle, a serious, serious struggle. So that brings me to stress hacks. If you've watched my previous video segments, you are probably familiar with the fact that I tend to use stress hacks a lot, mention them, all that stuff. If you're not familiar with them and are interested in learning more, I've posted some links below in the description to some of those stress hacks that I have shared in case you're interested in incorporating them into your stress and anxiety management skill set. Okay, so let's go over what they are. If you've been living with stress and anxiety for a really long time, or you've just started feeling it recently, there's a level of frustration that usually comes along with that because it's interfering with you living your life how you want to live it. And it's probably not making you feel very good. I can definitely empathize with that. It took me years to sift through the good and the bad stress and anxiety suggestions and research that I was doing and everything. Over time, as I was searching and searching and searching for help with my stress and anxiety, especially after getting diagnosed, and I started to really understand the mechanics of what was occurring, I started to discover that there was an actual difference. There were quicker, faster ways to deal with that stress and anxiety. And so I started calling them stress hacks, basically because they're hacks for your stress. Basically, stress hacks are coping skills. They're just a quicker, snappier, more modified version that helps us get out of our stress and anxiety response in our brain faster, but also really in controlling it on a moment-to-moment, daily basis. They're also extremely public user friendly. So you can use them in private and in public and not draw a lot of attention. And it's also going to help train our brain if we use them when we need them, and sometimes even when we don't, to live in the present, and that it's okay to live in the present and not live in a state of stress and anxiety. And one of the reasons for that is because they are directly linked to the brain's response to stress and undoing that and snapping us out of it. By the way, if you're not familiar with the brain under stress and how that operates, I've posted a link below. That way you can check it out, because it is really truly what I have found the key to my success in my stress and anxiety management and just living my life in general in more peace, love, and joy. Some examples of negative and not so healthy stress hacks are actually things that you may be aware of or have experienced, like throwing and breaking things in the heat of the moment, screaming and exploding, hammering your printer when it's not working, etc. All of these negative stress hacks can expel stress and anxiety pressure quickly. However, they're not necessarily the healthiest option, and they don't really help us learn and grow on how to control and balance our stress and anxiety for the future. So they can kind of become a habit, and we don't want that. What can really help us is preparing and practicing. So how do we do that? So identifying ahead of time on a piece of paper or in your phone what coping skills you already are kind of familiar with that do work for you. Stress hacks. If you are familiar with the stress hacks that we've covered in previous videos, or you end up watching those videos and you try them out, write down the ones that you find work for you easily, quickly, and then other ones that maybe work for you sometimes but not others, because having a variety can be really, really helpful, especially when you need it right now. Practicing and therefore mastering your use of stress hacks and coping skills, even when you don't think you need them necessarily, because when you do need them, they're going to work faster for you. You're not going to have to think as much or remember as much, and you'll tend to sort of train your brain, like we mentioned earlier, that it's good to not live in a state of stress and anxiety, and these can definitely help you with that. Keeping that list in your pocket, wallet, purse, what have you, around the house. That way you have it when you need it. And also sharing that list with a loved one, so giving them a copy. Because sometimes, especially when we are panicked, right, it's so hard to think. And you may even totally forget about that list. So if they have it, they're probably going to be calmer, even though they might be a little panicked because you're panicked. But if they're able to remember it, they can refer to that list, pull it out, and perhaps even do these coping skills and stress hacks with you. That way you're not feeling so alone. And the last thing is just try and drop any judgment about it. It took me a while to open up about sort of not this way of living, but just incorporating these things into my life, because I didn't see anyone else doing them. Or what I did hear about was, oh, I had some wine, or I have wine every night to help me calm down, and that's a coping skill. Or, oh, I took a nice relaxing bath and I lit the candles and blah, blah, blah. And like, that's cool too. Those things don't work for me. Sometimes they tend to stress me out a little bit more. And that's something that I've worked on and continue to work on. But once I started to use them and understand the power that they had, and therefore the power I had, it helped drop that judgment. And really, in the end, I just realized, if these are things that I'm going to do because they help, I can't judge it. I can't judge myself. And really, Everybody uses coping skills, whether they realize it or not. They just may or may not have a label, or they might be really common, more common than the ones that we talk about here. So I encourage you to just let that go. Don't judge yourself. Don't judge the situation. I know it's hard. And just focus on being healthier and being the best you, however that needs to happen. So if stress hacks and coping skills are something that you're really enjoying using, or you just want to learn more and try more out, not to worry, I'm always discovering more stress hacks and coping skills and life hacks and all that stuff. So I plan to continue to share those and sort of expand on them even more. That way we can all live our lives happier and more joyfully and easier and all that stuff. So keep your eyes peeled for those videos. Thank you so much for joining in today and each and every time you do. I really do appreciate it. If you haven't already, feel free to subscribe to my channel, like or dislike this video. It really is cool either way. Follow me on social media. Links are below, and comment below on what coping skills you have found really do work for you. I would love to hear your feedback, and I'm sure a lot of people out there would also love to hear from you. Remember, self-care is giving the world the best version of you, not what's left of you. So keep on keeping on with love, happiness, and joy, and I will see you next time.